You are listening to Herald News on DSG Radio. Leading the news, shaping tomorrow. Good day, Nigeria. And today, we turn our attention to a subject that demands our collective conscience, our full attention, not just as watchers of headlines, but as citizens of a nation with a duty to its people. A statement issued by Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, has drawn international attention. In his message, he claimed that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria, that thousands of Christians are being killed by radical Islamist groups, and that the United States must act. So whether you agree with every detail or not, this claim opens a broader conversation about religion, security, identity, government responsibility, and above all, the human cost. Today, we examine the facts, what we know, what remains contested. We look at the history behind the violence, the regional dimensions, the root causes, and what this means for Nigeria's future. And finally, we ask, what responsibility do we all share? Let's start with the verifiable facts. According to research, the violence confronting communities in Nigeria has reached shocking proportions. One reported by the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law states that over 52,250 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria since 2009. Between April and June 2023, the Observatory for Religious Freedom in Africa recorded 1,637 deaths, 642 abductions, and 511 other attacks. And yet, we must note, other analysis warn that attributing this violence solely to religion oversimplifies the picture. The Council on Foreign Relations points out that in some regions, Muslims make up nearly 2/3 of Boko Haram's civilian victims. So yes, Christians are suffering dramatically and disproportionately in many cases. But the causes, the actors, the motivations, they are multiple, layered, and complex. To make sense of this moment, we must understand the history. The seeds of religious and communal violence in Nigeria stretched back decades. In the early 2000s, the Yelwa massacre in Plateau State, where armed Muslims attacked Christians, left hundreds dead, a grim reminder. Then came the rise of Boko Haram in the north, an expansion of the herder-farmer conflicts in the Middle Belt, a region where land, ethnicity, religion, and resource collide. In 2013, a bus carrying mostly Christians were bombed in Kano. More than 60 lives lost. Over the years, groups like Boko Haram, ISWAP have targeted both Christians and Muslims. But in territories where Christians are the minority, they bear a disproportionate burden. This is not simply Muslims versus Christians. It is the collision of insurgency, ethnicity, climate pressure, climate change, weak governance, and identity. Let's identify the main actors in this tragic drama. Boko Haram and ISWAP, and Islamist militant groups rejecting Western-style education, imposing radical doctrine, and attacking civilians and places of worship. Fulani Haida militias, who are mostly Muslim. Pastoralists clashing with largely Christian farmers over land and water, sometimes adopting extremist rhetoric. Local vigilantes and communal militias, now forming self-defense groups which often fear retaliation and more violence. The state, the federal and state governments, the armed forces, the police, their capacity, their responsiveness, their will are all under question. So, as the U.S. State Department notes, that Nigeria often failed to prevent attacks or hold perpetrators accountable. The picture is crowded, messy, insurgents, militias, land conflicts, kidnappings, extremism, all intertwining. So why are Christians so vulnerable in parts of Nigeria? Geography and demography. Many live in the Middle Belt, exposed farming communities, open villages, scattered churches. You look at ideological targeting, because some militants openly declare war on Christianity. We look at weak protection, where security responses are slow, sometimes absent. You look at displacement, where families uprooted, stripped of livelihood and safety. So, Christians suffer not only for their faith, but for where they live, how they live, and the fragile system meant to protect them. What has Nigeria done and where has it fallen short? The government acknowledges the crisis, but the U.S. State Department's 2023 report describes Nigeria's record on religious freedom as extremely poor. The European Parliament reports that nearly 17,000 Christians were killed between 2019 and 2023, and more than 7,000 victims in the first 7 months of 2025 alone. Yet, officials often describe these killings as communal or resource-based. Perhaps both are true, but denial deepens distrust. Nigeria's security system is under pressure. Without protection and accountability, perception turns into despair. This is not just a Nigerian story. It is a global resonance. Trump's statement places Nigeria back in the crosshairs of U.S. foreign policy as a potential country of particular concern on religious freedom. Why does it really matter? Because Nigeria is Africa's most populous nation, a major oil producer, a regional power, home to millions of both Christians and Muslims. How the world responds will shape global perceptions of faith, freedom, and Africa's stability. Let's be clear. Behind every number is a name, a father, a mother, and a child. Homes burnt, villages emptied, dreams lost. If we accept that one person can die for their faith and say nothing, we risk losing our collective humanity. Nigeria, proud, diverse, hopeful, cannot afford to let violence define her. This is a test of our values and our soul. So, what must be done? 1. Protection and justice. Defend every community. Prosecute every attacker. 2. Clarity. Distinguish between religious attacks and resource wars. 3. Empower communities. Build resilience, early warnings, and reconciliation. 4. Global solidarity with context, not just condemnation. 5. Everyday action. So, we have to speak up. We have to engage. We have to educate. And we have to heal. Because silence empowers extremists. And dialogue and compassion builds peace. So, here we stand at a crossroad where innocence has become collateral, and the word Nigeria must once again mean hope, not fear. If we allow believers to die for their faith, if we let their stories fade into silence, then we fail the promise of our nation. But I still believe in Nigeria, not because she is perfect, but because she is ours. I believe in her people, Christians, Muslims, and traditional worshippers, because each one carries the promise of tomorrow. And note that belief without action is noise. So, Nigeria, do you truly believe? Join the conversation. Share this message. Stand up for the voiceless. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now on DSG Herald News. Nigeria can still rise, but only if we arise and shine. Thank you for listening. I am Duru Sonny George, and this is Herald News on DSG Radio, leading the news, shaping tomorrow. Thank you.